Do you remember that feeling when everything in life just clicked and you truly felt unstoppable and couldn't stop smiling? Or maybe you have never felt this feeling and you're currently looking for it. Well, sis, that feeling that you felt or you're trying to look for is called your spark. And there is good news and there is bad news about your spark. The good news is it's not gone. It's just buried, waiting on you to bring it back or find it. But let me be real. The bad news is if you don't look for it now, you might miss a lot of moments that could change your life for the better. But don't worry. I've been where you are, and sometimes I occasionally have to find my spark again. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I do when I need to find my spark again. So let's get to it. So today we're going to talk about how you can find your spark and reignite your life. I know the feeling of losing your spark all too well because I've spent the last year after having two babies, 13 months apart, trying to find my spark again. I know as women, it can be so easy to lose our spark because we get burnt out and overwhelmed from the constant juggling of our career, our relationships, and our very own personal goals that we're trying to reach. This usually leaves us feeling drained and so uninspired to do anything else. But I have 7 tips that I'm going to give you that help me get my spark back and reconnect with the activities, the interests, and passions that truly excite and inspire me. And I'm pretty sure that you have never heard of the last tip that I'm going to give, so be sure to stay tuned. Tip number 7 is be present in the moment. Being present is being completely engaged, fully conscious of the moment you're in, and connecting your mind and body without the noise outside of you. This helps you find your spark by allowing you to fully engage with the moment and tune into what really matters to you. When you're present, you're more aware of how you feel, what you're thinking about, and your surroundings. And all of this awareness will help you to reconnect with the joys of life because now you're more likely to notice what brings you joy and excitement. And if you notice what brings you joy and excitement, you can now go after those things or people. And yes, I say people because spending time with people or a certain someone could bring you joy or excitement. You just have to be careful not to put all of these things or people in your basket for joy because should they become no longer available to you, you'll then find yourself back at square one looking for your spark. So simply put, sometimes you just need to pause on searching for that spark and put the emphasis on being more present so that you can really think about what your true joy is in because that's where your spark is too. Tip number 6 is to journal or read old ones if you have them. Doing this can remind you of the different times in your life of what you were doing that really made you happy. I know I like to journal. I've said it before in previous videos that I have several journals. And so sometimes it's beneficial to actually go back and look at some of my old journals to reminisce on the things that I was doing that really brought me joy. If you have yet to start journaling, I definitely recommend that you start because there are so many beautiful benefits of documenting your day and getting all of the thoughts in your mind down and out on paper. I always say, when you don't have a friend or a loved one to talk to, your journal will be there for you. I have a beautiful journal that I recommend that I'll link in the description box. And if you're not quite ready to commit to purchasing a journal, I actually have one for free that you can download because I believe they are just that beneficial. Tip number 5 is remember your why and purpose in life. Think about why you do some of the things you consistently do. For an example, if you have a job that you have to be at a certain time in the morning, usually you are going to bed or at least trying to go to bed at a decent time at night. You also may do things like get your clothes ready the night before. If you're wearing uniforms to your job, you'll make sure that they're clean so that you can grab it the next morning. I know sometimes I would make lunch the night before I had to go to work and definitely usually set an alarm before you go to bed. My whole point is your why for doing all of this is because you have to go to work in the morning and you don't want to be late. So you have to treat everything in your life this way. Even if you don't feel like it. That's the whole purpose of knowing and remembering your why, because there will be times and moments that you really just don't feel like doing anything, that you don't have that spark, that you need something that'll give you some pep in your step. And if you don't know your why or what your purpose is in life, you can pray about it and ask God to reveal it to you. It will also help to know your spiritual gifts because we all have spiritual gifts and talents, and your spiritual gifts and talents are all connected to your purpose in life. For an example, one of my spiritual gifts is the gift of exhortation, which is also known as the gift of encouragement. To be real, I don't always have the time or feel like making these videos to encourage others, but then I remember my purpose and my why, and that I need to do it. And that puts a fire under me to go ahead and get the ball rolling to getting these videos done and uploaded. If you don't know what your gifts are, I will leave a spiritual gift test that you can take for free in the description box and the comment section. So feel free to check it out because I really do believe it will help. Tip number 4 is do what you love or try something new. Usually the things we love are things that give us the spark inside of us. I absolutely love my family, from my parents to my husband to my children. I also love going out to eat at new restaurants, listening to old school R&B music, and online shopping. So when my joy is not joying like it usually does and my spark is missing, it's usually because I'm not doing one of the things I love the most, like I just mentioned. And if you are indeed doing what you love, but it's still not bringing you the joy or giving you the spark that you need like it did before, definitely try something new. There's a bit of excitement in trying something new that you have never tried before, so don't be afraid to venture out and do different things. So like I mentioned in the previous tip, definitely remember to journal, because if you're having a hard time remembering what these things were that you used to love, looking at your old journals can help. And if you're still like, that quite doesn't do the trick, maybe this next tip will, and that is tip number 3. Spend time with yourself. Spending time with yourself is at the top of my list for getting the much needed self-care that I need. If you think your life has no room for self-care, or you think you can't afford it, you should check out this video where I give you 25 free self-care ideas. Self-care does not have to cost you anything, and it can include things like detoxing from social media, silencing your phone for a certain amount of time throughout the day, taking walks by yourself, taking a long warm bubble bath, going to a library or a bookstore, going to a spa if that's your thing or your preference, or taking yourself on a date. Doing all of these self-care activities give you time to not only fulfill tip number 1, of being present, but it may also help you find the spark that you are looking for by giving you that time to spend with yourself and really think. Tip number 2 is spend time with those closest to you, whether it be family, friends, close coworkers, church family, or even your neighbors. Usually those closest to us will notice when we're really happy, excited, or have something going on, like when you're dating somebody new. Because I know you've probably had your mom or your best friend ask you, so who is he? And you just smile and whatnot, but yeah, they really be knowing. So it's a good idea to spend time with them when you're trying to find your spark, because they'll give you an idea of what those things were that made you feel like you were on top of the world. Now, for a disclaimer, if one of those things happens to be someone like an ex, that's not the answer to finding your spark, because we're not looking for temporary sparks. So tell your loved one, if they suggest that the last time you was happy was with an ex, tell them, please, give me the next one. And the last tip, tip number 1, is something called sensory immersion therapy. See, I told you, you've probably never heard of it before. But what it is sensory immersion therapy involves using all 5 of your senses to reignite your creativity and your passion. With sensory immersion therapy, you intentionally expose yourself to new sensory experiences, like experimenting with different scents, textures, sounds, taste, and visual things, especially things that will evoke emotion or nostalgia. An example for me would be smelling baby products, or like I mentioned earlier, listening to R&B music, but maybe listening to some new R&B music or smelling some new baby products, because both of these remind me of the times in my life that I was really full of joy. Examples for you could be visiting places with new sounds or smells, creating arts or crafts with your hands, or cooking with unfamiliar ingredients. This sensory exploration can awaken dormant feelings, memories, and passions that reconnect you with your spark in unexpected ways. Just be sure to avoid experimenting with things that you know have bad memories attached to them, because, of course, that will not help. I really hope today's video was helpful because losing your spark is a real thing. And my hope is that these tips really help you to find your spark like they did for me. Having babies really do a number on your mental and your physical and make you think your spark is gone and never coming back. But thankfully, mine's did. And I believe if you're in that situation, yours will too. And if you're not anywhere near the stage of getting married or getting pregnant and having babies, and you're like, my spark is gone, but that's not the reason. Check out this video on the selfish things I did before I even thought of creating a family, and hopefully it will help you. Leave me a comment and tell me what was the last thing you remember giving you that spark. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe because there's more content where this came from. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you with my next video.